A castle on a hill is a common sight in Spain and throughout much of Europe. But when my friend said he wanted to take me to see Guadalest, Spain, I had no idea what I was in store for or that I would be visiting a place that has been named one of the most beautiful villages in Spain. Who knew that such a beautiful place was just about an hour from my home in Pego, Spain? Hi, my name is Nicole. Welcome to my channel, Travel to Money. In this video, I'm going to share about my day trip to Guadalest, show you what you should do if you visit for the day, and we'll also talk about real estate in this area of Spain. A lot of the time, I stick to the more coastal areas of Spain, but today we're going a bit more inland. Guadalest, Spain is located in the Valencian community of Spain within the province of Alicante. It appears to be almost directly west from the coastal city of Moraira, but even closer to Benidorm, which is just about a 30-minute drive southeast. My friend drove us through some mountains and then we turned onto a road to go up a mountain. Coming down the other side was when we first got a glimpse of the Guadalest reservoir. This was built in 1969. Much of the area surrounding has been well preserved as a development there is not allowed. You could spend a whole day just exploring the reservoir. There is a circular hiking path that goes around the reservoir with amazing views. You can also go swimming, which is easiest from the beach of Guadalest, which is at the tail end of the reservoir. Paddleboarding or canoeing is also allowed, and even fishing, though I'm pretty sure you have to get a fishing license. We drove across the dam and then up into the village of Guadalest. I can't even begin to tell you how beautiful and charming this little town is. There are many charming little towns that dot the mountains around the reservoir, and though I look forward to exploring more of them, Guadalest is the most famous, and the town itself thrives on tourism. Believe it or not, there are only 200 inhabitants, but it doesn't feel like that when you arrive just because there are so many tourists, so the town is definitely buzzing. We stopped at a cafe near the parking area for a coffee and then set off into the old town to explore and to visit the castle, which is a stunning sight to behold. If you want to visit the castle, and trust me, you do, the cost to enter is €4 per person. There are plenty of interior rooms to explore, but my favorite is the long walk upward toward the top of the castle area. There are beautiful views in every direction, and you will want plenty of time to take it all in. The castle was originally built by the Moors, but over time it has lost bits in an earthquake and also in times of war. What remains is only a small portion of the castle, but it feels quite large. You are able to visit this area during any time of the year, but I've read that if you visit in March, you get to see the almond trees in bloom throughout the valley, which I would love to see. Summer months will be hot and more crowded, but I know a lot of folks visit Spain in the summer, so if I visited then, I would start with an early morning walk around the reservoir, up the castle, and then I'd spend the afternoon either swimming in the reservoir or visiting museums, which are plenty in Guadalest. Seriously, for such a small town, there are so many museum options. There is the Antonio Marco Museum, which might strike you at first as a museum of dollhouses, but what you'll find is that he built real houses on a very small scale, using real materials like stone, tile, brick, and more. Another neat museum is one of historical vehicles with over 100 motorcycles and several cars ranging in years from 1920s to the 1970s. If you're really into small things, you may enjoy the Museum of Micro Miniatures. For example, there might be a painting on a piece of rice, and you can only view these creations through a microscope. If you're into things that will make your hair stand up, you could also check out the Medieval Torture Museum, where they display 70 devices of a torture used by the Holy Inquisition throughout Europe. Then if you want to go from creepy to domestic, you can check out the Museum of Salt and Pepper Shakers, with over 20,000 in the collection. Lastly, there is an ethnological museum where you can learn about the history of the way of life and work in this area of the Guadalest Valley. Some of the museums are free, but most are between €3 and €4 per adult. Opening time for most of them is between 10 and 10:30 a.m. daily. Now, I took a look to see what the housing and rental market is like in Guadalest. With a town of just 200 inhabitants, I knew there probably wouldn't be a lot of options. On the site idealista.com, there were 19 homes available for sale, but you'll notice as I make my way through the page, some of them will begin to look familiar. This is something really common in Spain. There doesn't seem to be an overall authority when it comes to real estate, so you will often see the same home listed multiple times, often by different people with different photos and sometimes even different prices. In this case, of the 19 homes listed in Guadalest, one of them is listed 8 times, but each listing has different photos. It's really annoying, but what can you do? Okay, so I usually sort listings by price, but because all of the listings are on one page, I think we'll be okay. The one house that is listed 8 times is in the $500,000 range for 3 bedrooms on a beautiful property with stunning views. But in my opinion, the interior could use some updating. In the $700,000 range, you have a couple of homes that are new, modern, and definitely look like luxury living. Now, if you're looking for a budget option, there are a few one-bedroom flats listed for under $100,000. They're not fancy, but they look livable, so they could work, I suppose. Now, I wouldn't personally recommend moving to a town this small, especially if you're not fluent in Spanish yet. I also probably wouldn't want to live in an area that is mostly based around tourism, unless, of course, you're trying to start a business that caters to tourists. And like I always say, if you're considering living somewhere, go and get to know the area for a while first, just to make sure it's a fit. Unfortunately, the rental market in Guadalest, at least from what I can see on Idealista.com, is basically non existent. However, if you like, there are several places available on Airbnb for rent with nightly rates starting at around $80 for an entire home to yourself. Personally, I think Guadalest is the perfect place to visit for a day trip. You could definitely just see the castle and the reservoir in a half day, but why not make a whole day of it, support the local tourism, and see all that this charming town has to offer? I should also mention that there probably aren't any public transportation options to Guadalest, so you definitely want to rent a car if you're just visiting Spain on vacation. This is super easy to do and probably a lot less expensive than you'd imagine, especially if you're renting in the off season. I'll leave a link in the description where you can see my favorite site for renting cars in Spain. My last car rental with them was only $15 per day, and there are other times when it can be even much less than that. Well, I hope this video has been helpful for you. Check out my other videos about Spain after you like this video and subscribe to join me every day, where travel and adventure build financial freedom. I can't wait to see where your dreams will take you.